Yeah.
All right, World Soccer Radio rolls along here on Sports Byline USA. My name is Danny Page on this Friday evening. We're ready for the weekend, aren't we? Danny Page and Joe Curley joining us as well, a good friend of the show, a journalist who's covered the Euros and World Cup in Europe in the past. And yeah, Joe, I mean, it's nice that we're to a point here, and we're going to get further in depth as we continue through the program on World Soccer Radio. It's nice that we're to a point where the Premier League doesn't just completely grind to a halt for the FA Cup. At least we get a little bit of both this weekend. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it looks like the days are actually divided. It's more Premier League one day, FA Cup the next, so you can divide it up and enjoy it at your leisure.
Yeah, it's a nice little split, and there's a big cup game. I think Arsenal-Everton kind of taking the lead, and then there's a big league game, the team sitting at the top, and then the team on the outside of the top four looking in. But we're going to talk about those games later. I wanted to get Joe on the show. Joe's covered the United States at World Cups before. We were actually both at some of the same games back in 2006 in Germany that were absolutely brutal. But, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on what went down Wednesday. It's kind of two different schools of thought, Joe, when it comes to the United States men's national team. I think one school of thought is that, it's just a friendly and it's not, these games don't matter at all. And the thing that bothered me wasn't just the result, but it was the manner of the performance was just so poor across the board.
It's just kind of baffling. Obviously you've got the backdrop.
Please bring him down a touch.
You've got the, you've got you got a backup team out there, just unaware of really what Klinsmann was attempting to accomplish. You really, it's even though it's a friendly, there's no friendly that you can throw away in a World Cup year. So it's kind of worrying going forward. Obviously, it's not going to be the team that we're going to see in June, but
there's just nothing positive to take from it. We didn't put together anything resembling a solid attack even throughout the whole match. And the thing that worries me is they say, well, at least we know now, who's involved. But I would have thought at some point a lot of these players would be involved in the first 11. And Dempsey, Altidore, we need them to perform well, and they just do not look like they will be doing anything close to that.
Well, Dempsey, Altidore, and Cameron, really?
Yeah,
Besides
Jeff Cameron.
that, I don't really see too many first-team players in the group. Was he experimenting to try to give somebody a chance to really...
What about Jermaine Jones?
Place? Yeah, the issue is a lot of these guys aren't playing very regularly.
At all, yeah.
Brooks, we can get excited about kind of winning the battle for these split national guys, but if they're not playing, first-team football, if they're not playing regularly, if they're not developing, how excited can we really get? But the issue is, if the match had been canceled and it wasn't played,
right,
and you lost that opportunity,
it's a great point.
Better or worse about the U.S. team right now if they hadn't even played?
Yeah, I would probably feel a whole lot better, but I'd be a little frustrated that we didn't get the opportunity to see the team play, to evaluate, what would be happening with a guy like Brooks. Brooks could have made it into the final 23, but you look at Brooks and what he did, and you're saying there's absolutely no way this guy belongs in the final 23. He might make the last 30. And Oguchi Onyewu, I love him. Bless the guy. But he should not be called into a U.S. team ever again. I'm sorry. It's over. It's over, man.
It was exciting. It was interesting. It has run its course. The issue with me is that you have a World Cup year. There's been years where we played 5, 6 friendlies going into. I think we only have 3 scheduled friendlies this year.
Right, the 3 announced Thursday as well. So, the three training camp friendlies. And then there's one against Mexico in April, but that's just for the MLS players. It's in Phoenix. Thinking about taking the show out there.
It just seems kind of scattered. Obviously, part of our preparation for any tournament is the 2 camps of players, is having the January camp and letting the domestic kids really get into it and try to get a breakout kid into the the final 23, the domestic pool, and then into the group, and you have obviously you have your domestic base players, your European base players, and from there you mix it together.
My little pony.
Well,
I'm just not sure. I don't know. I'm just kind of concerned right now. Maybe it's just because of the other thing is if you want to just forget about yesterday, if you want to just forget about Wednesday,
right.
you want to just throw it away. The one thing is the U.S. does not have a great track record playing these kind of political football
Right.
matches.
Yeah, you brought that up earlier when we did kind of the pre-show. What are some of those games that come to mind where in these political battles, if you will, we haven't, and they're not battles, but when we're playing a game where a nation is embroiled in political issues, we don't seem to perform well with that extra, that extra piece of emotion out there.
Well, I mean, the Iranian loss is the one that in the '98 World Cup is the one that really kind of sticks out for me because it was kind of embarrassing. That was the one when you think of the '98 World Cup, you think of losing, that match and the just the disaster of it all. And then obviously this whole thing is happening right now. The Ukraine, Russia, U.S. conflagration, whatever you want to call it. This is all happening right now, and it was admirable that they pushed through the match and got it done.
And played well.
That Ukraine did.
Ukraine played well. Yeah.
See, that's the thing is it became something bigger for Ukraine.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got you hear the stuff after, that they're answering the questions about both the political situation and the match.
Right.
And it certainly had an
2.5.
And so you're not really sure what to take from it other than you just have to throw it in the bin and move forward, I guess.
Yeah, that's all you can do. You have no other option when you play that poorly. Something worrying, obviously, to me, is the performance and form of Dempsey and Altidore. Because these are players that will be starting for us that we need to play well.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Johansson played for about 10 minutes, and he looked like he should be starting. Also,
yeah.
I'm greatly concerned. I just have that '98 wooden spoon feeling, Joe. That's the feeling I have. You're playing an awfully challenging group, and they just don't look like a very strong team.
And you're not in a position where these are teams that are going to overlook the U.S. It's not like you're going to, it's not like Germany's ever going to look beyond anyone. It's not like Portugal, after what you did to them in '02, is going to. I mean, you had Mourinho in a story come out this week talking about how the U.S. can create problems for people. After that debacle on Wednesday, it's like, it looks like it's them actually saying, don't watch Wednesday and think that, the U.S. is just going to be a pushover. So, they have to get their act together, or it is going to be wooden spoon time.
Oh, yeah, it very well could be wooden spoon time. But I obviously am, so passionate about the U.S. men's national team, and I hope that passion hasn't been, hasn't been replaced by complete pessimism. I just don't have that much to look forward to when it comes to this U.S. team. I don't know. We're about to take a break here in a second, but get involved with the show. 800-878-PLAY, 800-878-PLAY. That's at World Soccer Radio. I don't know, Joe, very quick answer. Can we win a game in the group stage at least?
Well, I think the good thing is you go into the tournament with low expectations. Don't expect much, and when anything happens, enjoy it. I mean, I think that's the way you have to go into it, is any result you get is going to be a cause to celebrate.
Yeah, I feel like in some ways 2002 almost made that impossible, It made it very difficult to look at things that way. All right, we're going to take a time out here on World Soccer Radio. My name is Danny Page. Joe Curley with me on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. Pleasure to be with you. You can also watch the show, watch WSR.com. That's watch WSR.com. We're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, we'll get into some of the weekend's action, look at the talking points ahead of a Premier League and FA Cup weekend. A timeout. We'll be right back on WSR.
5% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs and free shipping. Call 800-950-1180. That's 800-950-1180.
Stand by. You're up.
All right, World Soccer Radio, Sports Byline USA. My name is Danny Page. With me, Joe Curley. If you're watching on WatchWSR.com, we have Joe with us. Wow, Joe, I like it. See, you've done the Euro gigs. You've covered the European Championships as well as the World Cup. You know what you're doing over there, man. Breaking it down a little bit.
Plus, I get your weekly tunes.
Yeah, exactly. The midweek mix, good stuff. All right, Joe. It's not. First question I have for you, by the way, before we get into the English teams and your beloved team, is if anybody's watching on WatchWSR.com, what is that jersey that you're wearing? What is that?
This is a memory from a long time ago.
Don't go too far down with the camera.
Yeah, exactly. It's a family show. ErieSarah.com or .com FC. This is a second or third division. I haven't checked.
Come up on your mic
second or
volume
third
a little
decision. Portuguese team. This is where we had our setup in Euro 2004. So when I wear this, it brings me back to Greece upsetting the world, and
that was nuts.
All that was. It was a tournament unlike any other. When was the last time you get something so beyond the realm of the prognosticators and anything that was expected? It was just awesome.
Yeah, we just don't. We just don't really. We just don't see that anymore. Those type of results, and I'm not sure we will. Nice jersey though. Nice shirt, by the way.
One of the surfing meccas of the world, ErieSarah.
Nice, thank you. Is that where we saw like the 100-foot like big wave vids and such from past year, basically? I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a couple different places on the coast, but yeah, basically.
Come up on your mic.
All right, so let's talk about Liverpool, and you are an unbiased journalist, but Liverpool are they are rather your team.
Yeah, there's certain things you can't separate yourself from,
right,
Daniel.
Right. And how does Liverpool fit into that, Joe?
It's how I got into the sport. Robbie Fowler back in the 90s. It's my introduction to the glory game and all that entails, and it's how I got into football. So there's a reason I don't cover Liverpool.
Right. No,
I can't be objective about it.
Well, then you must, much like Nick Eber, the host of World Soccer Radio, of course, you must be absolutely through the moon with what's happened this year. And part of the reason why is it just seems very unexpected for the most part.
Really, I think the number one emotion is relief. It's been a couple really difficult years. I'm sure the United fans the Man United fans understand what's happening. What we felt like a couple years ago was just when things are going bad and doesn't really feel like there's an end. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. It can be a rough thing, but you got to hang.
It's like an infomercial song, Joe.
You know what it is?
Like
it's the storm. You got to walk on, brother. And that's what the club has done the last 5-6 years.
But you really couldn't have expected to see this type of form and these sort of results coming at the beginning of the year.
The form. I expected to be fifth. I expected to be right on the cusp.
Not second.
No. Well, come on. They're like a point. It's like City's games in hand. It's a dodgy second. Let's be honest.
It's a dodgy second.
It's a strong tied for fourth.
They're going to finish it. They will finish in front of Arsenal.
Yeah, let's not jinx it. I won't say that out loud.
I know you won't. But I will. I will go ahead and do so. Here's the thing that excites me about it from a neutral point of view, and I love Liverpool. It's hard not to love a club like that, especially when you detest Man United. Here's the thing about it to me is that they really, they really did it the right way. And I know they're showing losses for the last couple years and such, but they didn't come in with a mega rich owner that made a difference. They haven't been able to move to a new stadium. They brought another manager up through the Barclays Premier League, hired him from another team, and said, okay, go ahead and play your type of football. We'll sign smart players. We'll make sure we keep our superstar. And you just don't see that happen at the top level very much anymore. The team it brings to mind for me is Atletico Madrid in a lot of ways. Other than that, when you look at the rest of the world powers, even if they take a little blip, they resurface because of some sort of financial investment. It would be like Milan turning around and winning the Serie A in the next couple of years without someone buying out Berlusconi and company, and I just don't see that happening. That's what's so incredible about it.
Well, I don't know if it was the right way, but they certainly did it the hard way. They certainly did it the smart way. I mean, I think that's been the interesting thing is you can see now that you've got a little perspective, there's been some time that has passed.
Right.
You can see a little bit of what the plan was. You could see it was buying top-notch talent that has taken kind of a turn for the, that has grown out of favor, whether it was Sturridge buried at Chelsea or Coutinho buried at Inter, and they've gone after other players like that they haven't been able to land. I think it's part of, when the whole initial FSG director of football, crosses is a cheap component, blew up in their face. They really, what they did was they took the kind of market inefficiency, that whole kind of sabermetric approach and applied it to the transfer market. And I think that's what's been.
Has it worked? I mean, how much of a difference has it made?
Oh, I mean, think of what the club is worth now and how it's playing. When you've got players like Suarez and Sturridge and Sterling, I mean, the group that they have now is just got so much. I think you look at the way they play, the form, the goals, and just how fun they are to watch. And I think that's been the story of this year. Not if it's a legitimate championship push, not if it's, they're going to make the Champions League, not if it's they're back. It's really what this has been. It's been the restoration of pass and move of the kind of the legacy of Liverpool Football Club, which is to entertain and win football matches. And that to me, is kind of the most exciting part. That's why they're back to being Liverpool, because they're fun to watch and they're winning matches, and not because, that when that happens, when you have a foundation of that, then you win Champions League. Then you win the league, then you win the Champions League, then you have the success that is the history of the club. But first you have to play and win and have fun doing it.
Again, you have this like calm, laid-back demeanor about it, but you didn't think Danny Sturridge could be, the leading goal scorer in the league. I don't think anyone did. No one did. Nobody did.
I mean, I think Sturridge had ability. You saw it when he was on loan with Bolton, and I think it's partly Sturridge. It's partly they've all kind of come together. I mean, you look. The bottom line is he's in the form of his life, and you have to ride with it. I don't think it's going to last forever, but
nothing lasts forever, Joe.
That's right. That's for sure. Everyone knows that now.
Hey, what? Here's the thing I think about is what happens if this team does make the Champions League? What happens if this team, gets there? They don't have a deep enough squad. They need to go out and make some moves. I think the center of midfield needs some pretty serious rebuilding.
Yeah, complete restructure. I mean, I think the interesting thing, first you have to figure out how long Steven Gerrard has left, whether or not it's a success.
You mean for Liverpool, not in the world?
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. Hopefully. I mean, you have to figure out: is he 3 years? Is he
2?
Is he done after? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he lasts
2.5 minutes.
Leaves now, or if he retired anytime between now and the next 5 years. I don't think you get a read on Steven Gerrard in that regard. But
I don't think he thinks about it ahead of time either. I think he just kind of
it'll happen.
Just kind of wakes up and says, "All right, it's done." Right?
Yeah. It'll happen to his body. He'll wake up one day and won't be able to do it. But I think I've been pleasantly surprised at his ability, because I didn't think he could become a holding midfielder. The one hole in his game has always been kind of a tactical. He's always been a little too aggressive. The runs have been too anyway. But it's obviously they're have to be scouting. They obviously have to have a list of about 5 to 7 signings. The whole entire squad has to be completely. They're going to have to bring in a whole nother group. Maybe 5 to 7 players.
Yeah.
Players at every part of the field.
It's a big investment.
And that's where that money goes. That's why they sold. When they didn't make when they got knocked out of the Champions League and didn't return to the Champions League, you saw players like Bellamy and Maxi and a lot of those players when they dropped out of Europe were let go, and that's the extra part that you need to compete on multiple fronts. And I'm gonna be the interesting thing is I'm gonna be excited to see who are these names. Is it going to be are they going to be squad players, or are they going to be players that can really push the club on to really competing for a championship, to really pushing City over the next 5 years, and Chelsea?
I think they need to utilize a similar model, especially when looking, to the center of midfield, especially when looking to bolstering their defense. Locate players who have, who have been underappreciated. There's a name that has been talked about a lot with Liverpool, for example, Ryan Bertrand. I think Ryan Bertrand he's a young player, supposedly a very talented Chelsea player from when we've seen him. I mean, he started a Champions League final. He can obviously perform in that tournament. So I don't have any doubt for the most part that those are the kind of guys you need to go after if you are Liverpool Football Club. All right, that's enough on Liverpool, Joe. I'm glad we talk about it a few times a week via text and phone, but now we got a chance to chat here on the show. Joe Curley with me here on World Soccer Radio. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're getting into these FA Cup matches. Saturday lunchtime, Arsenal-Everton, and then 3 matches Sunday, and then a whole mess of Barclays Premier League coming up this weekend as well. Joe and I provide our predictions when we return on this Friday edition of World Soccer Radio. We will be right back right here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. My name is Danny Page. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Stand by. We're up.
All right, getting ready for Friday night, I guess, huh? DP and JC, Joe Curley, really experienced soccer writer, covers a wide variety of sports for the Ventura County Star here in Southern California, among other journalistic outlets and endeavors. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, Joe, on this Friday evening. You know, it's a tradition on the show, a long-standing Gieber tradition. Back to when Nick would host the program. Do you remember the set they had on Friday Football Phone-In, where it looked like it looked like the Married with Children living room? Do you remember that one? It was like the original show.
Remember they had a couple incarnations.
Yeah. So they used to do predictions then. Again, I have no idea if they really did. I was watching My Little Pony at the time. I'm sure. They used to do predictions then, and yeah. So we're going to continue those, obviously, tonight, as Nick likes to every Friday. And the way Nick says it is, all right, everyone, cash in your mortgage, take all your money to Vegas and put it on our choices, which I always shake my head at. And the worst part is I'm right a lot more than he is. Let's start with the trip to the Hawthorns for I just know you're going to be happy to talk about this, for Manchester United. And Nick and I have had a lot of fun predicting the Man United games this season because you can predict these ridiculous upsets, and a lot of times they come to fruition. What do you think, though? You have to think they'll go to West Brom and win.
Well, when West Brom play, what is it? The majority of the time this year they've drawn.
Yeah. Lead and draws.
I think they're the one team when you look at the table, they're the one team I think that has played better than their standing. They just haven't been able to win, turn those draws into wins. But now they're suffering. They're at the bottom of they're 18th in the form table. They're really fluttering. I'll predict a scoreless draw.
A scoreless draw. I like United to win this one. I think for me, West Brom's biggest issue, Joe, has been. And Fulham is seeing it too. You can't have like 4 managers in a season. I think they should have stuck with Steve Clark, given him an opportunity to turn it around instead of. And I think we're seeing with Tim Sherwood something that West Brom may be guilty of is just overthinking their managerial choice. You can bring in a competent Englishman or someone from the UK that knows the league, that's been there before. That's out there. There are a lot of these guys that get sacked and never get brought back in that could probably keep you up. So why try and introduce someone from Spanish football?
There's a lot of issues there too. You've got the Anelka thing. You've got
right.
A lot of turnover. A lot of people talking about hinting about leaving. I just think they're a clubbing up people, but they've it's now or never. They're really going to be in the middle of this relegation fight, especially with what you said, with the managerial hire. It's just. They're in trouble.
Stoke heads east. They take on Norwich City. And I'm someone, I like Norwich. I have a friend who's a big Norwich supporter. I'd like to see him, what?
East Anglia.
East Anglia football, man. But I just don't think they can get this result. And I know they have a nice 4-point cushion. I'm not sure if they'll get the results down the stretch either to stay up.
Yeah, they're another one that could get really sucked into it. They're not playing well lately. They have one win in their last 10 or so.
Yeah.
So that they're in deep trouble. If I got to predict that, I would say a score draw, maybe 1-1. I'm gonna decide to make no decisions today.
Very nice. I like how you're doing that during our predictions segment. I like Stoke to win this match 2-0. They are only 2 spots above Norwich in the table. A win for Norwich at home, no less, would take them a point above Stoke. And depending on other results, they could rise. They could rise as high as 11th even. So it's a big match for them. Southampton goes to Crystal Palace after the comprehensive defeat to Liverpool. Does Southampton bounce back going to Selhurst Park, do you think?
I thought Southampton was pretty unlucky. I think this has been maybe their roughest patch of the year right now. They're starting to really.
Well, they had that run where they played Man United, Chelsea, City, and Arsenal in like 4 weeks or something.
Besides competition like that, but Palace
right.
I've been playing really well recently. They've turned it around a little bit. They've won I think now 3 of their last 6. They've kind of struggled on the road, but I'll take Palace to surprise 2-1.
I agree. I like Palace. I like Palace to win this match. And then the two big Barclays Premier League games this weekend, really. Boy, these are two huge games, aren't they?
Please.
One at the bottom, one at the top. Cardiff City and Fulham. Cardiff City and Fulham. What a game. What do you foresee happening here?
They're not just bottom and second bottom. They're the two teams that are playing the worst right
Right,
now.
right. They're the worst in the form table as well.
Fulham is just a mess.
Yeah,
I
they're a
mean, you
mess.
watch them, you can't figure out what the heck's going on. Cardiff is a little bit more structured. They just don't really seem to have anything going forward at the moment. I mean, that's a nailed on, 0-0 draw. And then trying to predict it. But then these are the type of games where they throw everything out of the, everything goes crazy, and you could have like a wild 3-3 matchup. But I'll go. You know what? I'll go 1-0 Cardiff.
1-0 Cardiff, the home side.
On an own goal. That's what I'll say.
Come on. Do you see Fulham as a team that's going down?
I think if you had to bet, I don't know what the odds are, but they have to be odds on first to go down.
Fulham. Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's
just
the way that they've performed too. The fact that they're at the bottom of the table. Cardiff and Fulham have three teams, by the way, in front of them. Sunderland in 18th, still in the drop zone, and then the two teams above in Palace and West Brom. Everyone has at least one game in hand. So I think it's a little deceiving. They're actually further down than you might think. They are currently 4 points out for Fulham and 3 for Cardiff. A loss for Fulham would be killer.
And two of those three teams you mentioned are playing much better recently. Palace has turned it around. Sunderland are starting to they're being a little more dangerous.
And they have 2 games in hand too. Sunderland does.
I mean, they're in a they're not fine, but they're certainly
they're in a better position than some. Would you be upset to see Fulham go down after some fond memories for American soccer fans?
They wouldn't be my choice. I think they belong in the they're
Not
one of
this
those
year.
yo-yo clubs. They're one of those yo-yo clubs, but
But they've been in the league for like 6 years, I think, at this point. 7 years.
They are a team that you always kind of when you're watching, you're always kind of rooting for. They're
I could care less now.
above their weight a little bit, but now without so many Yanks there, and with all the turnover at the ownership level, at management level, they're not like, what are they right now? That's the issue.
I have no idea.
Fulham right now there's no identity.
They're the Jacksonville Jaguars.
With the Jackson 5 statue.
No, they're the Jacksonville Jaguars because they're owned by the same owner.
Is the Michael Jackson statue still there?
No, I think Shahid Khan took it down. Disappointing. How about Chelsea Spurs? Tottenham travels across London to take on the league leaders. I think Chelsea are going to drop points here.
What do I have to do to guarantee a draw? Can I?
Yeah, right. As a Liverpool supporter.
What do I have to do?
I just think they've been fortunate. When you look at, I guess they called it Terry's goal. What was that, last weekend, or was that 2 weekends ago? It's all sort of blending together at this point, Joe. They've had a lot of really fortunate moments, specifically at Stamford Bridge, and I just think it's going to catch up to them here. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. There you go.
I'll go 1-0 to Chelsea. I mean,
Okay.
I think, even though I do
You
think
just don't like to jinx yourself. You're a typical superstitious Merseyside supporter.
I'm still in a position as a Liverpool fan where Spurs dropping points is actually a bigger deal to me than
Chelsea, yeah.
Points, because I don't, even though there's that whole Mourinho Benitez thing and all that from the middle of the last decade, I'm not one of those Liverpool fans that really hates Chelsea. I mean, there's enough, Liverpool have enough rivals. They don't really need to go out. I mean, I just don't. I think Chelsea are not the finished product. They're going to be a heck of a lot more dangerous next year and going forward, as long as Mourinho kind of, as long as he beds down and everything's cool there. But I don't think they're really themselves yet.
How does the weekend off suit Liverpool?
Well, I mean, half the squad played for
Exactly.
England.
Exactly.
That's never a good thing.
Especially in friendlies. Suarez played a lot too. I watched some parts of that game. It's probably a good thing in some ways.
And to kind of bring it, kind of focus. It gives the staff, I think, a chance to really kind of look at these teams, the group ahead, and in a group of games that's really going to determine the season too. I mean,
internationals are out of the way, distractions are out of the way. Everybody else has some sort of cup competition going. Liverpool are the only team that only play in the Barclays Premier League the remainder of the season for the teams focusing on the title and on the race for fourth place. I'm not really counting Everton in that race for fourth at this point, obviously. 11 points behind, albeit with a game in hand. Let's move over to the Football Association Cup. Obviously, Liverpool disappointed not to be involved in some ways. I think in some ways it's a bit relieving. And let's start with the big game, Arsenal and Everton. Boy, we've seen Everton make some deep runs in this tournament. I actually went to one of the FA Cup finals they were in at Wembley against Chelsea, the first one. Arsenal are reeling. Wilshere is injured. February, it was an abject disaster. March hasn't started well either. What do you think?
Well, I think that this is this Arsenal season. When does it
Yeah,
really
winning
start?
the FA Cup is their season.
3 minutes, 3.
It's very, winning the FA Cup should be very important to Arsenal, and this should be one of their biggest games of the year. They're not in a good position for it. I think Everton have really been really good in these in the cup competition this year, and I think it's going to be a heck of a game. And I think Arsenal need to win this game, and I think Everton are going to. I'll take Everton 3-2.
Wow. I like Arsenal to win. With their backs against the wall, I like them to win 2-0 in this match. I think that they can do it.
It's a massive game.
It is a massive game. I think one of the reasons why it's such a massive game is that if Arsenal are to eliminate Everton, the only team that in the Football League structure sits above 18th place is Man City. You have Hull and Sunderland. Hull is down in 12th, I think. So, 12th or lower. But there's no other contenders besides City. You have 3 championship teams. You have 2 teams in a relegation battle, and then you have yourselves and City if you win this game. It is wide open for Arsenal to win this tournament.
Yeah, and they have to. How vital? When does it become? This money has to turn into trophies at some point. They absolutely need it. It's absolutely enormous, and there should be a ton of pressure. And how about these 4 matches? When you've got a couple bigs, a couple, the lower teams, in the league, in the Premier League, and then you've got some of the teams from the lower divisions. I think this is a great group of quarterfinals.
Yeah, no, it really is. Sheffield United, Charlton. I think it's nice that you have these sort of Cinderella runs, and these teams, the championship teams, have a real opportunity to get to Wembley for the semifinals. Honestly, I couldn't even predict Sheffield United, Charlton. I definitely watch the championship sometimes, but I'm not sure I have any idea who win that game. Do you have a brief thought?
At some point, and it goes
1
back.
minute.
At some point, a Sheffield team's going to have to get going again. So,
Yeah, it's really a shame.
Cities in the country, and it needs to have a Premier League team. I wouldn't mind seeing the Blades win it. Although I have a soft spot for Charlton too, because they're one of those, lesser London spots. But I'll say 2-1 Sheffield United.
All right, I'll follow you on that one. We're going to have to take a break on the show. I will say this as we head to break. I think Sunderland will beat Hull City. That is my prediction. I think they're hungry after taking the lead at Wembley in the Capital One Cup final and then falling apart. I think Sunderland will win that game. They will go back to Wembley. They just want to go back to Wembley once more. Wouldn't it be funny if they were drawn against City again at Wembley Stadium? We're going to take a quick time out. We need to talk about Man City and Wigan in the Football Association Cup. We'll wrap things up right after the break. It's World Soccer Radio on Sports Byline USA. My name is Danny Page. Joe Curley with me. We'll be right back, guys.
Saving safe and sound when you can. Call 800-576-1046. That's 800-576-1046 for your free gold IRA guide.
Stand by. You're up.
World Soccer Radio, Sports Byline USA, closing this week out. It's been fun being with you guys. Nick Gieber will be back next week. My name is Danny Page. I'll be with him then as well. But Gieber really steering the ship, if you will. I can't wait to see how tan he is coming back from his bronzing tropical vacation. Joe Curley's been with me. Speaking of tan, it's been a fun show, Joe. Really. When I think of our conversations, a lot of it centers around the Mighty Reds and really what their place is in England over the next 12 weeks of action here.
10 matches, 10 cup finals. Hold your breath.
Gosh, it's down to 10 already, isn't it? I can't believe that. Time just absolutely flies, man. Absolutely. Man City and Wigan coming up. You like City to win that one, I'm sure.
Of course, but great memories for Wigan, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'll be a day for them to really commemorate what they did last year. An incredible achievement, to say the least. It's been a fun show. Thanks so much to Scott and the Sports Byline crew up in San Francisco. My name is Danny Page, in this week for Nick Gieber on World Soccer Radio. Been a fun week, guys. Send us your tweets over the weekend. I'll be tweeting as we watch the matches over the weekend. That's at World Soccer Radio. And, Joe, where can everyone find you?
You can, it's at Joe Scribe and at BCS.
Give me 30 more seconds.
Are the two soccer-related, Twitter, or personal and soccer-related accounts.
At Joe Scribe, at VCS Soccer. He's a veteran. He's covered, not that kind of veteran, but he's covered European Championships and World Cups as well. Big thanks to Joe Curley for coming in today. My name is Danny Page. That's going to wrap up this edition of World Soccer Radio. Been a great week, boys and girls. Again, thanks to the whole Sports Byline crew. Remember, you can watch archived versions of the show. Watch WSR.com. That's watchWSR.com. Now, my great pleasure to toss it up to the one, the only, the man, Ron Barr. Take it away, Ron. We'll take a timeout here on World Soccer Radio and send it up to Ron Barr. Good night, everybody. Take care. World Soccer Radio is on the air here on Sports Byline USA. My name is Danny Page. Pleasure to be with you, as always, here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. It's Friday night. Yes, it is Friday night, and the feeling's right. We have a, something of a Premier League slate this weekend. There are FA Cup matches to discuss, and it is the last night, I promise you. It is the last night. Nick Geber is away. Finally, get some English blood back in this program instead of just a Yank yapping about the United States men's national team the entire time. Okay, I did a little bit different and a little bit better than that, right? Come on, give me a break here. But it's been a lot of fun being with you guys all week. We had internationals, obviously. So the midweek focus was a bit different. We're going to suspend our Major League Soccer previews, bring them back next week. I think we're looking at the Houston Dynamo. We're looking at the San Jose Earthquakes. A whole lot to come next week as far as the Major League Soccer previews go. But tonight I'm joined by a good friend of the show, Joe Curley of the Ventura County Star newspaper here in Southern California. He has covered the World Cup in Germany. He covered the European Championships in Portugal as a journalist. He's been to a World Cup final, obviously the famous Italy versus France game, and we'll get Joe's opinion on everything involved in the beautiful game when he comes in. He's also a big Liverpool supporter, too, so we'll chat with Joe throughout the show tonight. Further fallout from the United States men's national team match. The U.S. has named a couple winnable friendlies, at least, 3 winnable friendlies, at least, that they will play before they head down to Brazil. Azerbaijan and San Francisco. I'll probably be at that one, and yeah, at least we can win that match. It'll probably be the send-off for Candlestick. Before we send you off to break and really get the show rolling, just know you can get in touch with the program whenever you want at 800-878-PLAY. That's 800-878-PLAY. And, of course, listening to us on Sports Byline USA on affiliate stations, so many of you are. But you can also listen on the iHeartRadio app, on the TuneIn Radio app, or on our website, watchwsr.com, a live video stream of the show. Geber's out. Deep Page is in. The last show without Nick until he returns from his break next week. Danny Page here. It's an absolute pleasure. Ready to talk some soccer and make some Barclays Premier League and FA Cup predictions on this Friday night. Let's take a timeout here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. When we come back, we'll really get into the games that lie ahead over the next 48 hours. We'll be back in just a second.
Okay, Danny, we're good. I'll talk to you this afternoon.
Thank you, bud.
Okay, buddy.
Bye.